The streets of Buckhead erupted into chaos the night Kirk Frost was taken into custody. It wasn't a staged scene for reality TV. No cameras, no scripted drama, just real fear and heartbreak echoing through the neighborhood. News outlets flashed breaking updates across screens. Social media exploded with disbelief. Love and hip-hop fans, who had followed Kirk and Rasheeda's decade-long journey of passion, betrayal, and reconciliation, were left stunned. This arrest felt like the ultimate collapse of a story they thought they knew. Witnesses described a night that began deceptively calm. The couple had attended a business dinner hours earlier, smiling for photographers, projecting the image of a powerful, glamorous duo. But as midnight approached, neighbors reported hearing shouting, crashing, and what one called a scream that was unmistakably real. It wasn't TV drama, it was a real human in distress. When authorities arrived, Kirk Frost appeared pale and stunned beneath the flashing red and blue lights. Rasheeda's face was swollen from tears, her hands clutching her phone as if it were the only lifeline keeping her grounded. Officers quickly handcuffed Kirk, and he muttered under his breath, "This ain't how it's supposed to go down." The reality, however, was undeniable. The chaos had already been captured by cameras across the street. Within minutes, TMZ had footage. Within hours, the internet was aflame. #JusticeRasheeda was trending globally as fans tried to process what had just happened. The images of that night would forever mark the beginning of the end. Police reports confirmed shattered glass, overturned furniture, and visible injuries on Rasheeda's arm. Kirk insisted it was an argument blown out of proportion, but the evidence suggested otherwise. The neighbors' 911 calls, combined with eyewitness accounts, painted a terrifying scene of domestic turmoil erupting behind closed doors. Fans watched, frozen, as the fairy tale image of Kirk and Rasheeda crumbled in real time. The arrest wasn't just news. It was a wake-up call. The man who had built a decade-long career on charm, talent, and scandal was suddenly stripped bare, exposed in a moment of raw human failure. And for Rasheeda, it was the night that changed everything. The night when loyalty, love, and patience collided violently with betrayal and fear. This was the moment the public realized what they had been watching on screens for years was only a fraction of the reality that lived behind the mansion walls. The echoes of that night set the stage for a scandal far larger than anyone could have anticipated, where every secret, every betrayal, and every whispered accusation would soon explode into the public eye. Kirk and Rasheeda Frost weren't just a reality TV couple. Over the years, they had crafted an empire, turning personal drama into a brand and a business. To the public, they were the realest couple on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Every scandal, every makeup, every tearful confession became part of their story, a story fans couldn't stop watching. But behind the polished exterior, their marriage was slowly decaying. Their rise was as strategic as it was dramatic. From boutiques to music labels, sponsorship deals, and branded appearances, everything bore the Frost name. The public only ever saw the highlights, the glamorous dinners, the smiling selfies, the scripted reconciliations on camera. It was reality television at its most seductive, raw enough to feel authentic, but curated to maximize drama. Every betrayal Kirk endured or inflicted, every tear Rasheeda shed, became a building block for their business. The line between love and performance blurred. Industry insiders often whispered that their marriage had transformed from a partnership of hearts into a partnership of paperwork. Contracts, sponsorships, and profit margins dictated decisions once guided by passion. While Kirk handled the finances and orchestrated deals, Rasheeda took creative control, expanding boutiques and diversifying ventures. The brand required both their images to remain intact. They had to appear untouchable, strong, and united, even when behind closed doors, trust had frayed. Their personal missteps became their professional leverage. Cheating scandals were spun as plot twists. Emotional breakdowns became fan-favorite moments. The Frosts knew how to manipulate the cameras without ever breaking character, cultivating an image that kept audiences hooked and advertisers invested. Fans celebrated resilience, often praising Rasheeda for forgiving Kirk and maintaining the family brand, while Kirk's charm and remorse were packaged into the narrative of redemption. But the facade masked a marriage rotting internally. Behind closed doors, old wounds festered, and quiet resentments grew into dangerous patterns. Money, fame, and power became wedges that neither intimacy nor loyalty could bridge. Decisions that looked strategic were often survival mechanisms, protecting assets, controlling narratives, and keeping appearances pristine. Every public smile, every emotional Instagram post was meticulously calculated. The Frost brand was a masterpiece of illusion, where pain was monetized and love was performed. Their audience believed in the romance, the struggles, and the triumphant comebacks. But the truth was darker. What fans adored as resilience was often endurance under duress. For Rasheeda, it meant carrying the emotional weight while maintaining the empire. For Kirk, it meant leveraging scandal for control. Together, they were unstoppable on screen, but alone, they were unraveling. And as their public empire grew, so did the cracks behind the scenes. Cracks that would eventually fracture entirely, exposing the gap between image and reality. What appeared as a fairy tale life was slowly revealing itself as a meticulously curated performance built on fragile foundations. The audience applauded the drama, but behind the applause, the Frost household was on the brink of a collapse no camera could contain. The cracks in Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage didn't appear overnight. Insiders say the tension had been simmering for years, growing steadily as business, fame, and personal betrayals piled up on top of one another. The couple's boutique empire had expanded rapidly, with multiple locations and increasing financial stakes. Kirk oversaw finances while Rasheeda handled creative direction, but what should have been collaboration quickly became competition. Money, once a tool for growth, became a wedge driving them apart. Trust began to erode quietly. Rasheeda reportedly noticed missing funds and vague expenses tied to Kirk's side projects. When she confronted him, he responded with charm and deflection, the same tactics he had used during his infamous cheating scandals. Each denial chipped away at their relationship. Rasheeda's confidence in the marriage waned, and with trust gone, the foundation of love started to crumble. Friends recall that arguments once minor escalated into tense standoffs behind closed doors, their home becoming a battleground for control and resentment. But finances weren't the only strain. Rasheeda carried the emotional weight of the relationship alone. Every rumor about Kirk's infidelity forced her to defend the family publicly. Every televised humiliation, every confession in the Love and Hip Hop booth fell on her shoulders. Fans applauded her resilience, but behind the scenes it looked more like exhaustion than strength. Forgiveness became routine, endurance became survival. Over time, the line between loyalty and self-preservation blurred. The stress seeped into daily life. Rasheeda reportedly grew increasingly withdrawn, often distracted by her phone, worried about potential business irregularities or new scandals. Kirk, meanwhile, seemed oblivious or willfully indifferent to the emotional toll of his actions. The household's dynamic shifted from partnership to performance, with each partner playing a role to maintain appearances rather than nurture intimacy. Emotional burnout became inevitable. By the time the fateful night arrived, the tension had reached a boiling point. Years of financial disputes, cheating, public humiliation, and emotional labor had created a perfect storm. The carefully curated image of the Frosts as Atlanta's ultimate power couple was beginning to crumble, and the cracks, long hidden from the public eye, were now threatening to explode. What once was a story of love and resilience was quickly evolving into a tale of mistrust, manipulation, and quiet desperation, setting the stage for the violent confrontation that would shock the world. The evening had started like any other public appearance for the Frosts. Kirk and Rasheeda attended a high-profile music networking event in Atlanta, their smiles and poses perfect for the cameras. They radiated glamour and influence, the quintessential power couple of reality TV. But attentive onlookers noticed subtle cracks in the veneer. Rasheeda's eyes frequently flicked to her phone. Her smile sometimes faltered. Whispers between the two were tense, measured, the kind of conversation that seemed casual to outsiders but carried underlying conflict. By the time they left the event, the tension had escalated noticeably. Eyewitnesses described whispered arguments that turned into raised voices in the car ride home. Several guests later told gossip outlets that they could feel the unease radiating from the couple, the energy shifting from performance to confrontation. What had begun as a subtle clash now carried a dangerous edge. Back at the Frost mansion in Buckhead, the simmering dispute boiled over. Neighbors reported hearing loud crashing noises, glass breaking, and a scream that pierced the night. One neighbor described it as chilling, a sound that felt painfully real, unlike the staged altercations fans were used to seeing on TV. Panic set in, and 911 was called. Within minutes, police cars swarmed the quiet street, lights flashing, sirens echoing. Officers arrived to find Rasheeda visibly shaken, tears streaming down her face, trying to protect herself and make sense of the chaos. Furniture was overturned, and the house bore signs of a violent struggle. Kirk, appearing agitated and defensive, insisted the situation had been blown out of proportion. His pale face, muttering, and tense posture told a different story. Authorities quickly assessed the scene. Physical marks on Rasheeda's arm corroborated the neighbor's frantic calls. Kirk was arrested on the spot for alleged domestic assault, his handcuffs clicking as cameras from across the street rolled quietly, capturing the shocking moment. Within minutes, TMZ had footage. Within hours, the internet was aflame.
Social media exploded. Fans and critics alike struggled to reconcile the public image of the Frosts with the raw violence now revealed. It was a night that changed everything. The illusion of a controlled, scripted life fell apart in a single, terrifying evening. And while the arrest itself was the most visible event, it was only the opening act in a saga of betrayal, manipulation, and escalating public scrutiny that would grip Atlanta and the world for weeks to come. The stage was set. The Frosts' empire, carefully built over years, now teetered on the brink of collapse. The moment Kirk Frost's arrest hit the news, the internet erupted. Within minutes, TMZ, The Shade Room, and Hollywood Unlocked had posted clips from the scene, their captions dripping with shock and urgency. Fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, and X, struggling to reconcile the image of the charming reality TV mogul with the man handcuffed under the glaring red and blue lights. Hashtag Justice for Rasheeda trended globally as thousands expressed outrage, disbelief, and concern for Rasheeda's safety. Social media split immediately. Some users voiced support for Rasheeda, applauding her bravery and resilience in the face of repeated public humiliation. Clips of past Love and Hip Hop moments were repurposed with eerie captions, highlighting Kirk's previous missteps and on-camera betrayals. The signs were always there, one post read. It's finally catching up to him. But others accused the media of sensationalizing the event for clicks, questioning whether fans were witnessing a private marital dispute being blown out of proportion. Celebrities also weighed in. Yandy Smith, Erica Dixon, and other Love and Hip Hop stars publicly shared messages of support, urging Rasheeda to prioritize her safety and well-being. Their posts amplified the story, drawing millions more eyes to the drama. Meanwhile, Kirk's defenders scrambled to offer explanations, emphasizing that the alleged assault was a personal matter and urging fans not to jump to conclusions. But the mugshots circulating online left little room for sympathy. Fan reactions ranged from heartbreak to fury. Comment sections overflowed with people demanding justice, while others debated the morality of publicizing private pain. Memes, reaction videos, and live discussion threads popped up across platforms, turning the situation into a digital spectacle. Influencers and gossip commentators dissected every frame of the footage, analyzing body language, injuries, and the chaotic aftermath. The Frost household, once a symbol of reality TV glamour, had become the epicenter of an internet firestorm. Every viral post, every retweet, every trending hashtag magnified the pressure. For Rasheeda, the public attention was a double-edged sword. Validation and exposure mingled with judgment and scrutiny. Fans and critics alike became instant detectives, piecing together past episodes, social media posts, and paparazzi shots to understand the full story. By the next morning, the Buckhead arrest had transcended entertainment news. It was now a nationwide scandal, a conversation dominating screens, feeds, and dinner tables across America. Just as the public was digesting the arrest, a new layer of drama emerged: financial allegations. Within hours, leaked documents began circulating online. suggesting that Rasheeda had quietly moved several shared assets into her name weeks before Kirk's arrest. Social media erupted with speculation. Was this premeditation, a protective measure? Fans debated furiously. Screenshots of bank statements, wire transfers, and business contracts suggested a carefully orchestrated plan. Some claimed Rasheeda had been preparing to leave Kirk, securing her financial future amid mounting personal tension. Others argued it was a defensive move, a safeguard against Kirk's unpredictable behavior. The timing seemed almost too perfect, coinciding suspiciously with the night of the incident. The leaks shifted the narrative. Overnight, the story was no longer solely about alleged assault. Now financial motives were under scrutiny. Blog posts and gossip sites painted Rasheeda as either a savvy businesswoman protecting herself or a manipulative spouse plotting a public betrayal. Fans were divided. Hashtags splintered and debates raged on every platform. Hashtag Team Rasheeda versus hashtag Team Kirk became the new battleground. Meanwhile, insiders began connecting dots between past disputes over missing funds and side projects. The boutique empire, the music labels, and branded ventures all appeared entangled in allegations of mismanagement or clandestine transfers. Industry insiders hinted that the financial maneuvers weren't impulsive. They were deliberate, reflecting months of strategy behind closed doors. Kirk's camp, predictably, denied wrongdoing and accused Rasheeda of attempting to tarnish his image while exploiting the chaos. Screenshots of emails between Rasheeda and her accountants surfaced, allegedly discussing asset protection and fund transfers, giving fuel to the perception of manipulation. But the story was murky, full of conflicting evidence and blurred intentions. The public frenzy intensified. Every post, every leaked document, every comment reshaped the narrative, keeping the scandal alive and escalating. What had begun as a shocking domestic incident was now evolving into a high-stakes saga of money, power, and premeditation. A story where trust, loyalty, and image collided violently with betrayal and ambition, leaving fans questioning who was truly innocent and who had been playing a long game all along. Just when the saga seemed to reach its peak, authorities discovered a hidden video on Kirk Frost's cloud storage, labeled simply as insurance. The footage allegedly showed Rasheeda in a heated, intimate argument with an Atlanta promoter inside the backroom of her boutique. Though no physical contact was evident, the content appeared intensely personal, the exchange laced with frustration and secrecy. Insiders immediately flagged it as potential blackmail, an attempt to shift public perception and manipulate the narrative in Kirk's favor. Once word of the video leaked, social media erupted again. Headlines speculated that Kirk might use the footage to flip the story entirely, casting himself as the wronged husband and Rasheeda as the manipulative spouse. Fans were stunned. Could this be proof that Rasheeda had been secretly working against him? Or was it merely a desperate tactic for her to protect herself amid years of emotional and financial strain? The ambiguity created a whirlwind of assumptions, accusations, and heated debate across platforms. Rasheeda, however, refused to remain silent. Later that evening, she went live on Instagram, her tears in her eyes, her voice shaking but resolute. She denied the video's authenticity, claiming it had been doctored and edited to misrepresent the truth. "That man has hurt me in ways you can't imagine. He's lying, he's twisting everything, and now he's trying to destroy me with something that's not even real." Within an hour, the live stream amassed over 1 million views, rallying a wave of support from fans and celebrities alike. The insurance video, whether real or manipulated, had already changed the conversation. It reframed the scandal from a clear-cut case of alleged assault into a complex web of deception, control, and media manipulation. Rasheeda's live denial became a key turning point, reasserting her agency while highlighting the extreme measures Kirk was allegedly willing to take. The lines between truth and fabrication blurred, leaving the public questioning what was real, what was staged, and who could be trusted in the Frost saga. Two days after the insurance video surfaced, a second explosive revelation emerged. Surveillance footage allegedly captured Kirk's associate, Terry T. Lawson, exchanging a USB drive for a thick envelope of cash with a known Atlanta gossip blogger. The USB reportedly contained the insurance footage, ready to be published at a strategically timed moment. The exchange took place in a dimly lit bar, quiet but deliberate, hinting at careful orchestration behind the scenes. The timing and planning suggested more than opportunistic leaks. Investigators and insiders quickly concluded that the release was calculated, designed to damage Rasheeda's reputation while salvaging Kirk's public image. This was no ordinary gossip. It was a full-blown media operation, engineered to control the narrative. Social media exploded again, with fans and commentators in disbelief. How deep did the manipulation run? Who was truly pulling the strings? For Rasheeda, the revelation was devastating. The insurance video was already a source of public scrutiny, but discovering that it had been deliberately leaked for cash, designed to humiliate and misrepresent her, felt like a personal betrayal on a new level. Her attorney obtained the footage and confirmed that it had been carefully timed and distributed, reinforcing the notion that Kirk, or someone close to him, had orchestrated the entire scandal. The second leak didn't just escalate the conflict, it rewrote it entirely. What had begun as a personal marital dispute now appeared as a sophisticated campaign of manipulation, blackmail, and media strategy. The public began to see the Frost saga not simply as a reality TV drama, but a war for narrative control, with both spouses ensnared in a complex web of deceit, timing, and strategic exposure. The question on everyone's mind: who was orchestrating the chaos, and could anyone come out unscathed? As the public continued digesting the USB leak and insurance video drama, a new revelation sent shockwaves through the Frost saga. Forensic accountants tracing Kirk Frost's financial activity uncovered a disturbing pattern. Millions of dollars from shared business ventures had been funneled into offshore accounts linked to a company called HK Holdings. Established 3 years ago, the company was registered under an alias connected to Kirk's former mistress, the same woman involved in the NTCC 17 cheating scandal that had nearly destroyed his marriage. The trail led investigators to a luxury Miami Beach condo, where neighbors reported seeing Kirk frequently visiting over several months. The forensic analysis painted a chilling picture. The transfers had been disguised as legitimate business development expenses, but the reality suggested systematic misappropriation on a massive scale. For years, Kirk had accused Rasheeda of financial impropriety, but the evidence now indicated he had been the one diverting funds, quietly and deliberately, while publicly casting suspicion elsewhere. Industry insiders noted the irony. Kirk's public persona as the devoted, resilient husband was being undermined by the very empire he had helped build with Rasheeda. The Frost family brand, once synonymous with loyalty and resilience on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, was crumbling under the weight of deceit and secret offshore dealings. When Rasheeda confronted Kirk outside the courthouse with the findings, cameras captured the moment in stark detail. She didn't scream or plead. She didn't allow herself a single tear. Her gaze locked onto his, icy and unyielding, as she uttered the words that would become a viral rallying cry. "You really played yourself." In that instant, the power dynamic had shifted. The meticulously crafted image Kirk had maintained for years now lay in tatters, exposing the man behind the fame as someone who had manipulated, deceived, and betrayed the very woman who had stood by him. Just as the Frost saga seemed to stabilize in Rasheeda's favor, a third revelation emerged, sending fans into a frenzy. A 47-page email leak surfaced, allegedly showing that Rasheeda had been involved in behind-the-scenes scene manipulation on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. The documents detailed communications with a production assistant, discussing edits to portray her in a more favorable light during past seasons. The leak suggested a level of control Rasheeda had exercised over her public image that fans had never seen. From subtle scene cuts to strategic framing, she had allegedly worked to ensure her persona as the loyal, resilient wife remained untarnished, even amid Kirk's public scandals. While some saw it as smart brand management, others interpreted it as a calculated attempt to manipulate perception, turning sympathy into a tool for influence. Social media erupted. Fans were divided. Was Rasheeda the ultimate victim, protecting herself after years of public humiliation? Or was she a master strategist, quietly shaping the narrative while appearing innocent on camera? Gossip blogs, pop culture commentators, and entertainment outlets dissected every detail, speculating on the extent of her involvement and whether it had legal implications. The leak added another layer of complexity to an already convoluted story. The public now faced the unsettling question: in the Frost saga, could anyone's innocence be assumed? What had once been a tale of betrayal and abuse now included strategic image management, calculated influence, and hidden maneuvers that blurred the line between reality and performance. The Frost saga escalated further when a third explosive clip leaked, this time showing a private, closed-door meeting at Frost Enterprises. In the footage, Kirk Frost could be seen shouting at his accountant, papers clenched tightly in his hands, his face flushed with anger. His voice cracked as he yelled, "You think I don't know she's moving money? She's been planning this divorce for months. She's trying to bury me alive." The room's tension was palpable, every word dripping with fury and premeditation. Then came the line that shocked everyone. "If she ruins me, I swear to God, I'll ruin her first." The words immediately became viral, plastered across social media, reaction videos, and meme accounts. Fans were stunned by the chilling intensity, recognizing that the dispute was no longer just financial or emotional, it was now a threat with real, potentially dangerous implications. The clip reframed the entire arrest, making it appear less like an isolated incident and more like a calculated tipping point after months, even years, of escalating tension. Public reaction intensified when Kai Frost, their son, took to Instagram to share a brief but heart-wrenching post. "I saw what happened that night. My mom didn't deserve that." Within minutes, the story gained over 1 million views, flooding fans with messages of support and outrage. Kai's candid words humanized the crisis, turning abstract scandal into raw, relatable emotion. The family's private suffering was now a public reckoning, and the impact of Kirk's words echoed far beyond the boardroom, leaving both Rasheeda and the audience grappling with the reality of a marriage gone violently wrong. The fallout from the third clip was immediate and widespread within the entertainment industry. Sponsors began re-evaluating partnerships with Frost Family Ventures, pulling endorsements and freezing upcoming campaigns. The boutique faced boycotts, and social media buzz amplified the financial repercussions. Brands that once leveraged the couple's public image as aspirational and glamorous now distanced themselves to avoid association with the escalating scandal. Meanwhile, fellow Love and Hip Hop cast members reacted on social media, some expressing shock and sympathy for Rasheeda, others remaining cautious in their statements. Yandy Smith, Erica Dixon, and Spice publicly voiced support,
reinforcing the narrative of Rasheeda as a victim while hinting at the dark reality behind the cameras. Conversely, a few of Kirk's allies attempted to defend him, suggesting the situation had been exaggerated or misrepresented, further dividing fans and creating an industry-wide debate. VH1, responding to the unprecedented chaos, announced an indefinite suspension of filming for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Official statements cited safety and legal concerns, but insiders leaked that the real reason was the toxic atmosphere on set and Rasheeda's refusal to continue shooting amid the scandal. Production sources confirmed that the fallout had disrupted schedules, interviews, and storyline arcs, leaving the network scrambling to manage both public perception and internal operations. The combination of financial losses, public outrage, and production delays highlighted the magnitude of the scandal. The Frost family drama had expanded beyond a personal conflict into a full-blown reputational crisis. The intersection of